What size does one of the smallest mammals in the world have? How does the red-eyed tree dog protect itself? Can fish survive out of the water? What's the Madagascar sucked-footed bat interested with? Keep watching until the end and you'll learn everything. In this episode, I'll tell you about the rarest animals that surprised everybody. And we're going to start out with cats of out-of-this-world beauty. These are cheetahs, not ordinary but royal ones. Of course, we're not talking about the species that are bred for the upper classes. We mean a rare mutation that differs from the usual cheetah colorings. The coat of these animals is covered with black stripes along the back and large merging spots on the side. The first royal cheetah was found in 1926 and was mistaken for a hybrid of a cheetah and a serval. Although the differences were only visual, the king cheetah was still recognized as a separate species. However, in the future, genetic tests were conducted and they refuted the theory. In addition, in one of these South African centers from cheetahs of ordinary coloration was born a royal cub. At this point, it was finally clear to everyone this is not a separate species, but a very common, albeit quite rare, mutation. Oh, and this is the face of all those who see scientists reassessing and changing their claims almost every year. By the way, do you know what cute creature I just showed you? It's a red-eyed tree frog, and slight spoiler, its eyes have an amazing ability. Well, the frog is common in rainforests in southern Mexico and Central America. Despite its bright and most green coloration, almost all of its activity hours fall precisely at night. Under the sun, the red-eyed tree frog almost never walks. At this time, it hides on the underside of broadleaves or sleeps somewhere in the tops of trees. Speaking of sleeping, it's at this point that its mini-transformation takes place. The animal pushes up its brightly colored legs so that they would not attract unnecessary attention, and also closes its bright eyes for the same purpose, except that it doesn't close them completely. The eyes are covered by a translucent blinking membrane colored in a golden net. Thanks to this, the frog becomes less visible, but still as well able to follow the situation around. And if suddenly someone tries to attack it, the amphibian will certainly feel the shadow and will not let itself be offended. Any enemy will be stunned after seeing the transformation of this frog from a sleeping to an awoken one. And that's exactly what our guest needs. The time she's won will be more than enough for her to quickly move to a neighboring tree or somewhere far away. By the way, we keep talking about its eyes. Do you have any idea why they can be so pronounced? Actually, the culprits in its case are orange pigments. Frogs take them from crickets, midges, and other arthropods, inhabitants of the jungle, that they get at night. And they need these pigments not only for coloration, but also for the fertility of females as well as proper development in general. Forest Wonder. This is the name of the next creature I'd like to show you. If you believe the source, it was found quite recently during an expedition in Australia. The researchers went into the forest to study already known rare species, but instead they met a similar miracle there. It looked like a hybrid of a goat and something else. Unfortunately, we don't have more information about the find yet. Anyway, I invite you to write in the comments your theories on the subject of this creature. What do you think it could actually be? Well, while you're writing, we go further. Here, the Etruscan shrew is waiting for us. From the outside, it's a small and uninteresting creature that has nothing to boast about. Yeah, well, it does. First of all, the Etruscan shrew is probably the smallest mammal in the world. Secondly, its heart… Okay, wait, I almost blabbed. First things first. Our mammal of the shrew family is 1.8 inches in length, and this, by the way, without taking into account the tail. In its turn, it can be 1.4 inches. The mass of the animal is usually from a gram to a gram and a half. Many people are now in any case asked the question, and then how does it survive? After all, if the creature is so tiny, This means that it almost doesn't keep warm. The slightest cold snap should almost immediately lead to mass death. In theory, yes, that's what should have happened. However, the Etruscan shrew didn't want to die at all. To survive, it cranked up its metabolism to the max. And here's some statistics to back it up. Our guest eats about twice her body weight every day. At the same time, its heart beats an unimaginable rate, up to 1,500 beats per minute. To pump enough oxygen through its tiny body, the Etruscan shrew takes 13 breaths per second. Try it on yourself and write in the comments at what second of the experiment you got dizzy. Sure as shooting, this kind of lifestyle requires a lot of energy. That's where its eternal desire to eat pays off. A desire alone, alas, is not always enough. If you want something, it's cool, but you need to be able to achieve your goals. And taking into account the miniature size of our guest, it's not as easy as it seems at first glance. It always walks on the verge of starvation because just 16 to 18 hours without food will drive the animal to the grave. That's why the little ones are accustomed to settle in places where the density of invertebrate life is the highest, in ravines, along the banks of rivers and lakes. They usually dig their dens or set up shelters in fallen trees or between stones. I wonder if I'm the only one who doesn't understand why this creature's in such a hurry and only accelerates its life. Has it never wanted to stop? To exhale calmly and enjoy the moment? Especially since there are plenty of other equally amazing creatures around that are absolutely worth checking out. And the first among them I would single out the bicolored spined porcupine. This species is quite widespread in South America, and despite its exotic appearance, is not endangered. At the same time, it's quite strange that the bicolored porcupine was discovered in 1844 and has not been studied ever since. Only their length is known, from 16 to 21 inches, as well as their weight, 6.5 to 11 pounds. Pikachu from the world of porcupines leads a predominantly nocturnal lifestyle. Why this is so is veiled in mystery. Although personally for me, it would be much more interesting to know not about its lifestyle, but about its funny nose that seems to have swollen after a bee sting. Look, maybe this is a real Pikachu and all its energy is stored in the nose. I hope so, and scientists will figure it out soon enough. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's also known why this animal is yellow and black. This contrast is due to the fact that the porcupine's sebaceous glands secrete a special wax-like substance that coats and colors the needles. And all this goodness is used, of course, for self-defense. The tips of porcupine needles have serrations like on a harpoon. Because of this, they very easily pierce the skin of all inexperienced predators who thought it was a good idea to attack a porcupine. And also our prickly beauty has an unusual tail. It comes in handy to him as never before while climbing a tree. In this case, there are no extra limbs, so the long and half-bald tail serves as an excellent assistant in obtaining food. The diet of the bicolored porcupine is based on leaves, fruits, seeds, and bark of plants. Climbing perch. Another name for our next guest is the walking fish. It's a very small, freshwater, bony fish up to 8 inches long, with its second name that fully justifies itself. South Asia, as well as the Philippine Islands, that is, the places where our fish lives, are famous for heavy rains, after which the rivers come out of the banks and the forests are flooded for many miles. At that moment, a whole new world of luxury opens up for underwater creatures, and the climbing perches are among the first to rush to try something new. But only sometimes is this fish carried away from the meal, so much that it doesn't even notice how all the water has long gone back and it's left alone on dry land. Don't worry, the life of a playful Anabasis is not over yet. It can get up and slap to the nearest body of water. Of course, the fish does not walk on its feet. It's a powerful tail as well as pectoral fins that help to perform such a shocking trick. Making movements with their help, the climbing perch easily crawls even 300 feet and is back in the native water. There, you can take a breather and regain strength before the next such adventure. By the way, scientists said that even in front of walking fish, there will be a slight incline up to 25 degrees that it will manage to climb. For land creatures, of course, this is nothing. However, it's a very solid result for a fish. But it's one thing to be able to crawl on land, it's quite another to stay alive. You have to breathe all the time, remember? What helps fish to do that is they belong to the suborder Labyrinthidae. These creatures have a special organ inside the body, which is so complex that it's even called a labyrinth. So this very organ is lined with a network of capillaries and is able to absorb oxygen directly from the atmospheric air. It's not known how long the fish can last on land. Even if this value passes to a critical point, the climbing perch activates Plan B. It burrows into the ground and go into hibernation. It's said that in such a mode, the fish can last up to a couple of weeks. During this time, it's very likely to rain at least one more time, and our crawler will have a second chance to get home. Madagascar sucked-foot bat. This is the unusual name given to a species of bat found only in Madagascar. In fact, it's a rather tiny animal with a body length of just under 2.5 inches and weighing up to 0.4 ounces. And no, it's not some boring world's smallest bat or something like that. Our hero of the episode stands out in a different way. It has unique suction cups right on its limbs. That's why it received such a name. The essence of them is as follows. They're located directly on the skin and are impregnated with a moisturizing mixture. Because of this structure, the area of contact increases, and the molecules of the bat begin to interact with those of the surface. A force is generated that resists gravity, and the Madagascar sucked-footed bat adheres to the object. Thanks to this feature, these bats can climb even particularly smooth trees where no other creatures normally live. On them, these bats roll up a leaf into a tube and turn it into their own personal bungalow that no one can disturb. Even agile and nimble parasites are not able to climb on such a smooth surface. These inhabitants of Madagascar feed on small insects. Apparently, they caught a fly. So it turned out that just one evolutionary change of claws to suction cups made their life much easier and more pleasant. Now we talk about a small family of butterflies called bagworms. Their distinctive feature is the construction by their caterpillars of pouches of woven leaves, bark, twigs, and lumps of soil. It looks incredible. Curiously, these very garments have different styles, from a shapeless bag to spiral creations. Bagworm moth females wear them for quite a long time until they turn into butterflies. And if it takes a couple of weeks for ordinary individuals, then for these creatures the process can take even a few years. All this time, the beauties have to carry heavy outfits. Also, these creatures have a pronounced sexual dimorphism. Females, for example, may be wingless and even legless, and they can spend their entire life in a cocoon. They'll hide and mate in it. But one who is clearly not going to hide, and even more so is ready to make regular raids on other sea creatures, is the common violet snail, or as it's sometimes called, the purple storm snail. These gastropod mollusks live in the temperate and tropical zone of the world's oceans and in the Mediterranean Sea. To successfully navigate the waters, they've acquired a lightweight shell. Its walls are many times thinner than those of other snails. Still, do not feel sorry for this creature. As I said, it's a real pirate. And what should every self-respecting pirate have? That's right, its own ship. Our mollusk has managed to build one right out of bubbles. First, the animal grabs air from the surface, then blows bubbles out of it and attaches them to its backside. Of course, if these were regular ones, they would burst quickly and nothing would work. However, our underwater creature found a solution. It runs the bubbles through a special substance rich in chitin. Thus, they form a strong film and turn into a full-fledged raft. It takes the snail about a minute to create this bubble. Throughout its life, the snail completes its improvised ship to a comfortable size for itself. The cost of making a mistake is very high. Once the ship bursts and goes down, the gastropod's life is over. It won't have time to get enough oxygen to build a new raft. For this reason, the mollusk is particularly sensitive to how much cargo it's carrying. First, the raft carries the creature itself. Well, and that's kind of the end of it. The common violet snail is so worried about its raft that it doesn't load it at all. It raids, gets dainty, and sails off into the distance, taking no provisions with it. And then you might think, what can this little thing eat? Well, its diet is based on dragonflies, including the super dangerous Portuguese man-of-war. Once it sees its prey, the snail clings to its underside and begins to slowly but surely eat it. Snails, water vipers, jellyfish, there's nothing anyone can do against it. That's about it. Write in the comments what animals surprised you most of all. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel.